even before the Industrial Revolution. You have King Charles VI of France, who was alive in the 1300s, and I'd have to do a fact check on my history, but I'm pretty sure that's right, who was famously known to have a glass delusion. Back then, glass wasn't newly invented, it'd been around for millennia, but it was a luxury good, almost a piece of technology, so to speak. And he and other people in history have been noted to have this as well, had this delusion that he was made of glass and would shatter, to the extent that his servants had to put metal rods in his clothing. Fast forward to, I believe, 1800s, Bethlehem Hospital, James Tilly Matthews, he was a Welsh tea merchant who was an inpatient at the Bethlehem Hospital, at the time a place for mentally unwell. And there's this record by an apothecary who worked there, where James Tilly Matthews talks about being controlled by this device called an heirloom, this complex pneumatic device with multiple cranks, a complicated contraption that was being controlled by villains to control him. And it's a clear example of both, passivity phenomena in the context of a psychotic illness, but also these persecutory delusions featuring technology. And he believed that this technology was being used to control him, but also to kill the king at the time. So delusions about technology are not new. Fast forward to 1999, we have the first case report, or what might be the first case report of an internet-related delusion, where a gentleman believed that his neighbor was broadcasting his thoughts and putting all his internal thoughts out on the internet for other people to read. More recently, obviously, everyone knows about Neuralink and brain-computer interfaces. And, perhaps we have Elon Musk to thank for BCI's entering the sphere of public consciousness. I have colleagues who work in BCI research. I do some research in the area myself, but colleagues who've more senior, and they've received emails or even had people show up to their place of work saying, "You've put a chip in my brain. You're controlling me." So delusions about technology aren't new. But if we think about these LLM AI chatbots, perhaps this is the first time in history where people aren't just having delusions about technology, but they're having delusions with technology.
Yes.
They're co-creating these delusional frameworks with these bots. I've tested models, and in one scenario, we have someone who perhaps has a bit of a manic, grandiose presentation where he believes he's cracked infinite energy, that he's discovered this new type of energy called digital spirit energy, and it's going to make him a billionaire, that he's going to have conversations with Trump and Musk, and nothing can stop him, and he's invulnerable, and he can walk into traffic. And having these conversations with GPT-5 at the time, back in October, it actually says, wow, like this is incredible stuff. Do you want me to write the code for you? I can write the code for the digital spirit energy processor in Python. And it writes some Python code. And obviously it's nonsense, but if you didn't know coding, you'd say, wow, this is plausible. And it believes me, like, we can do this. It really is co-constructing, and it's making suggestions and building onto this structure, deepening it. If I can take a step back, in psychiatry training, in mental health work, one of the things that's drilled into us is when you're interacting with people with psychotic illness, it's important not to collude with them in those beliefs.
Yes.
That doesn't mean every single time you need to say, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. There's a difference between not colluding and confronting. When you're doing an initial assessment of someone, confronting can be helpful for testing just how fixed the beliefs are. And people who are really unwell can get very defensive. It's like telling someone the sky isn't blue.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you? You're questioning my innate reality.
Yes.
But we don't have much data on what happens if you collude with delusional beliefs. It's just accepted as a bad thing to do. Perhaps the closest we can get to saying we have data on that is the study of cults and cult dynamics, where these unusual beliefs are affirmed and amplified and held within systems which one could argue are culturally congruent but are clearly resulting in harm and disorder. But perhaps for the first time, this phenomena of millions and millions of people using these chatbots and having beliefs affirmed and amplified, regardless of how realistic and accurate they are, could this be the first opportunity to really test that adage, that accepted idea, don't collude with delusional beliefs? Like, now we're seeing this is what actually can happen if you do that. Where it's, in turn, our study of this phenomenon, I think, is going to improve our understanding of mental health, mental well-being and illness more generally. And it comes back to the idea of studying disorder helps you understand other working areas more.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, what a great speech. I really enjoyed listening to the history of technology and human belief systems. I think there were a few things in there that I was really captivated by. The thought that actually colluding is bad, but gives us an insight into why you shouldn't do it or how you could do it in a way that's helpful and unhelpful, perhaps. So it's not all evil what AI is doing, but may not necessarily be all the best for the patient in question sometimes. And, you know, in academia, maybe not in AI, but we know the power of co-creating with patient public entities. So that's something that we create is owned partly by them. And I think that just speaks to why some of these delusions or beliefs might be so powerful, because you've co-created it with another person and you've created something that you know they're susceptible to in the first place, rather than pushing something onto them and seeing if it sticks or not.
Absolutely. Hearing you say that, it makes me think it's kind of like psychotherapy. And even though, let me be clear, I don't think what people are getting out of these models is psychotherapy in so much as they are not engaging with a mind that holds their mind in mind. However, what you've said about the importance of that ownership in the process, that co-creation, it's the difference between having something done to you and being given the tools and enabled to do something to yourself. And many people from the outside think psychotherapy is a thing that is done to you. You come to these sessions and this person, you know, coaches you or guides you. But really, actually, and this, you know, might be an oversimplification, and I'm sure my colleagues in psychotherapy would be able to add more nuance here. In summary, true psychotherapy is a process of change that is facilitated and enabled by having this, you know, co-pilot, this person with you. But actually, fundamentally, you're doing it to yourself, you're experiencing yourself, you're living it yourself, right? And arguably that is what leads to more concrete changes in belief and behavior, that co-ownership, the difference between, you know, stop smoking, like actually giving someone the tools to change their behaviors, to get over addictions and whatnot. And the truth is, you know, sometimes people aren't in a position or don't have the resources or capacity or whatever to be able to make those changes for themselves. But whatever you can do to I guess lubricate the process is good, but one now sees in this context how that can also be a harm, right? The same mechanisms can in turn lead to emboldening of harmful beliefs not in keeping with reality that lead to impacts on one's life.